All right, so we're going to solve by factoring again, except the difference today is we're going to have a coefficient in front of our x squared, which is going to make the factoring just a tad bit more difficult. I'm going to teach you this method called slide, divide, slide. If you learned a different method in Algebra 1 that you like better, please use it. But I think this works every time, and I think it works pretty good. Let me show it to you. Okay, let's look at these. The first one's 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. Remember, slide, divide, slide. First step is slide the 5, the first number, to the last number. What I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply that 5 times my constant term of the last numbers. 5 times 6 is 30. And what that does is it gives me a 1 in the front again, which is what we did yesterday, which is not too bad. I got to find factors of 30 that would give me negative 17. So I'm going with 15 and 2. 15 times 2 is 30. 15 plus 2 is 17. So take the 5 again. Now we slide. Now we're going to divide. Divide both these numbers by the same 5. Everything's with the 5. If it will divide, like 15 divided by 5, go ahead and do the division. If it won't, slide it right in front of the x. Slide 2x. Be 5x. Slide the 5. So everything we're sliding and dividing and sliding is with the 5. We slid the 5 to the end, multiplied by the 6. We factored. Then we divided the two numbers down here by 5 to get our final answer. And again, you can check that answer right there just by doing FOIL. And if you work out the FOIL method, you should get exactly what you started with. Let's try another one here. 3x squared plus 20x minus 7. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to slide the 3 over here. So it gives me a 1x squared, a 20x, and a minus 21. So what I need now is I need factors of 21 that would give me a positive 20. Which would be positive 21 and a minus 1. So there's my slide. Now I'm going to divide by the same number. Divide by 3, divide by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. Works out great. The second one won't divide, so you slide the 3 in front of the x, just like that. And again, you can check it if you want. Works out perfectly. Slide, divide, slide. Okay, got one more here. I want to show you with slide, divide, slide. Slide the 4 with the 2. 4 times 2 is 8, so I'm going to 8 over here. So now I got a factor with a 1 in the front, which is much easier. Factors of 8, that will give you 9. It's a negative 9, so I'm going to go with a negative 8 and a negative 1. Those are my factors. Now I slid the 4, so now I'm going to divide by 4. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. That works out perfectly. 1 will not, you cannot divide 4 into 1, so you slide the 4 again back in front of the x. And there it is. So you slide it away from the front of the x. You divide it, then you slide it back in front. The second one here is difference of squares. We did these yesterday. The difference today is they're going to give you a number in the front. It works exactly the same. Notice 9 is a perfect square, so is 64, so is x squared. We actually did this yesterday, except without the 9. So you take the square root of the first one, the square root of the second one, the square root of the first one, the square root of the second one. 3x plus 8, 3x minus 8, just like yesterday, except the number in the front. And one more here. 9y squared. Now this one, it's your choice. If you want to try this, I showed you this yesterday. This is called a perfect square trinomial. If you don't want to do slide, divide, slide at the beginning, and you look at the first term and it's a perfect square, the last term it's a perfect square, you can try this. Try taking both square roots and square. And remember how we check that. We square the first term. You multiply these two together and double, which gives you 12y. Then you square the second term, which is 4, which is exactly what that is. So that's perfect. So you don't have to do it that way. You can do slide, divide, slide on that one too, and end up with the same answer eventually. Or they're perfect square trinomials, so you can just do it that way. All right, last slide here. We're going to use these to solve equations. So what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to slide, divide, slide on this side over here. So I'm going to take the 3, multiply it by the 8, which would be 24. Don't forget it equals 0. Factor it like it is, x minus 6, x minus 4, just like we did yesterday. And now, because I slid the 3, I'm going to divide by 3. It'll be 6 over 3 and 4 over 3. Right now, slide the 3 back. Well, I don't have to here. 6 divided by 3 is 2. Just divide by the 3. And here, slide the 3, get 3x minus 4. Now, the other good thing about slide, divide, slide is you got to give your two answers here. Like what makes the parentheses 0, just like we did yesterday. The first parentheses 2 makes that 0. The second parentheses you may not know for sure just by looking at 3x minus 4. But look right above it. That came from 4/3. So the other answer is 4/3, which makes slide, divide, slide even handier. the rule is here, when you get to here, you take the opposite of the second number and put it over the first number. So opposite of -4 is +4 over 3 4/3. But you can also just look at the parentheses right above it. All right, last problem of the video. When you don't have the side equal to 0, you got to make it equal to 0. So I'm going to take the 4p over there. When I take the 4p over, it becomes minus, which makes it a minus 20p. I'm going to take the 5 over here, which makes it a plus 5, which makes it a plus 20. There's one thing you're allowed to do if you want to. Because all those numbers up there have 5s in them, you're allowed to divide the whole equation by 5 as long as you do both sides. Now, the beauty of doing both sides is 0 divided by 5 is still 0. So you're really just taking a 5 out or completely dropping it completely. So let's factor. I already have a 1 in the front there, so we're good to go. That's going to be p minus 2 and p minus 2, which is p minus 2 squared, or there's only one answer, which is p is 2, and that's fine. So we're going to start calling that later a double root or double zero because it it counts twice, but that's for later. Today we're fine. So hopefully that made some sense. Maybe want to watch a little bit again, the slide, divide, slide. Make sure you got it. It is a great method, mainly because it works every time when you have a number in the front that is not 1, which is really the hardest kind of factoring that we have to do. So I'll see you tomorrow. We'll work on it like we always do. See you then.